Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing our study of the parables in Matthew's Gospel. And we're going to look at the last parable Jesus delivers in Matthew's Gospel today, which is the parable of the talents. And it's one of the longest parables Jesus ever delivers. At the end of this sermon, the end time sermon that Jesus is delivering, as a response to the questions that his disciples ask him, while at the end of the day they're sitting on the Mount of Olives and looking back across at the city of Jerusalem. This sermon ends with two parables, one on top of another, and then immediately the judgment scene at the end of Matthew 25. We talked about the parable of the virgins, the 10 virgins yesterday, which is a parable about preparedness and also about the fact that we don't know when the moment is going to come. This is about what we do in the meantime. This is about using the blessings that God has given us so that when He returns, we are ready. So once again, we have someone returning after a while, which we've had before in the parables. We have someone returning after a while, like in the parable of the wicked tenants, and calling to account the resources that he left behind. So we're going to read Matthew chapter 25, verses 14 through 30, the last parable that Jesus delivers in Matthew's gospel, maybe the last one he delivered in his ministry. The kingdom of heaven, is just like a man about to go on a journey, who called his own slaves, entrusted his possessions to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, each according to his own ability. And he went on a journey. Immediately the one who had received the 5 talents went and traded with them and gave 5 more talents. In the same way, the one who had received 2 talents gained 2 more. But he who received the 1 talent went away and dug in the ground and hid the master's money. And after a long time, the master of those slaves came and settled accounts with them. And the one who had received the 5 talents came and brought 5 more talents, saying, Master, you entrusted 5 talents to me. Look, I've gained 5 more. And his master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. The one who also had received the 2 talents came and said, Master, you entrusted me with 2 talents. See, I have gained 2 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. And the one who had received 1 talent came up and said, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you scattered no seed. And I was afraid, and I went away and hid your talent in the ground. See, now you have what is yours. But his master answered and said to him, You wicked, lazy slave, you knew that I reap where I did not reap, and sow where I have not scattered seed. You ought to then have put my money in the bank, and on arrival I would have received my money back with interest. Therefore take away his talent and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has shall more be given, and he shall have an abundance. But from the one who does not have, it shall be taken away. And cast out the worthless slave into the torture, outer darkness. In the place where there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. This is about final judgment. So the whole, enter in or receive, he's going to be repeating that in the judgment scene in just a few verses. Outer darkness, all the way back to the prophets, is eternal punishment. And so that's what this is about. There's no doubt about this. So we should know that in the Old Testament, Exodus 22:5, Leviticus 25:36 and 37, Deuteronomy 23, verses 19 and 20, and count 3 times as many places. in the wisdom writings and in the prophets. Usury, or making money off of interest, is strictly forbidden to the Jews. But in their day, the rabbis said it was okay to earn interest off of Gentiles. You could take your Jewish money and invest it with Gentiles, and you can also take Gentile money and charge interest, and that was not a violation of God's law. So that's as far as this is germane to the story. He's describing the world as it is to make his point. Also, the fact that most land was in the hand of just a few landowners was true across the Roman Empire, particularly in Palestine, where a few well-placed, well-positioned people controlled most of the land. And if you lived on land and worked it, you were tenants, almost certainly, on that land. There is a very, very small professional class. I wouldn't even say a middle class, a professional class. There's an enormous class of day laborers, and there is an even smaller class of the super rich. So that's their economic system, and that's what he's describing. This super rich guy takes three of his most trusted servants and gives them enormous sums of money to work with while he's gone. A talent is a measure, it's not a coin, it's a measure. And a talent is roughly equivalent to 1,000 denarii or 1,000 days' wage. In other words, 3 years' wage is basically the value of a talent. And so one guy is given the equivalent of 15 years' salary to work with. One guy is given the equivalent um, of 6 years' salary, and one guy is given basically, or excuse me, 2 years' salary, and one guy is given a year's salary. So 5 years' salary, excuse me, 15 years' salary, 6 years' salary, 3 years' salary. I'm getting my math right. These are enormous amounts of money that are being given. And two of the guys take the time to actually put the money to work. And they double their master's money. One makes an assumption, and that is that the master is hard. And so he reacts in fear and buries it in the ground. And the master makes nothing. There's so many elements to this, but the fact that God is investing in us gifts that he expects us to share, the fact that we will give account of those gifts, and if we think that's not what this is about, read on, because when he gets to the judgment scene, watch the difference between the people going to heaven and the people going to hell. I was hungry and you fed me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was sick and in prison and you visited me. You took care of me. That's the difference. If we think this is not about taking the resources God has given us and share them with others and invest in others who are in need, Jesus makes that perfectly clear in just the next verses. So there's that level to this. There's the level of judgment that when we don't take the gifts God has given us to use for others, we will face consequences. In fact, we will be rejected in the end of time. And he's trying to get that message across so vividly to his apostles there at the end of the day, just a day or two before he himself is arrested and then executed. And I'm not sure how much they understood at the moment, but they did get it because some of them wrote letters and some of them wrote gospels and wrote this down. And I hope we'll get it as well. We don't know when Jesus is coming again. And therefore, we need to be ready. Being ready means not just dotting our I's and crossing our T's and abiding by the rules, but it's taking those resources that God has blessed us with, because every good and perfect gift is from above. Jesus' own brother tells us that, James chapter 1. But we take those resources and we use them to benefit others. That's the way God intends it, and we will be judged on that. Jesus says so. Okay, well, I'll just have a short conclusory. Is that a word? A short conclusion next time. A short conclusory um, um, session together, and then we'll move on to our next topic, and we'll announce that next time as well. Thank you for joining me for what I think is now the longest 5 good minutes we've ever had. See you next time.